On today's episode of Football Transfer News, we have Inter Miami versus PSG. Welcome back. We are going to be comparing the two teams that will be facing each other in the final of the FIFA Club World Cup 2023. Who will win between Inter Miami and PSG? Which team is better? And we're also going to look at some of the latest transfer news involving these two teams. So let's get into it right away. First off, let's take a look at how they got here. So, in order for Inter Miami to reach the final of this competition, they had to get through the CONCACAF Champions League, and then they had to beat either the African Champions League winners or the Asian Champions League winners. In their case, they beat Seattle Sounders, who were the winners of the Asian Champions League. And on the other side, you have PSG, who won Ligue 1 last season, therefore allowing them to participate in this competition where they had to play against the Asian Champions League winners. And in their case, they managed to beat Al Hilal from Saudi Arabia to advance to the final. Now, the reason why these two teams are playing each other is because they are the best teams from the two different confederations. So, if you're coming from Europe, you've got the UEFA Champions League. If you're coming from South America, you've got the Copa Libertadores. In Africa, you've got the Champions League for Africa. In Asia, you've got the Champions League for Asia, and then over in North America, you have the MLS Cup. Now, unfortunately, the MLS Cup is not as exciting as some of the other ones. LAFC and Philadelphia played each other last year, and the game ended up being very boring with very few chances created by both sides. But anyway, the winner of the MLS Cup represents the CONCACAF region, which also includes Central America and the Caribbean. But most importantly, the winner of the MLS Cup goes on to represent their region in the FIFA Club World Cup. Alright, so now that we know how they got here, let's take a look at how they compare against each other. Now, when it comes to overall squad value, Paris Saint-Germain comes in at number 9 in the world with a total squad value of over $840 million, according to the C's Football Observatory. And then Inter Miami comes in at number 30 with a total squad value of around $600 million. Now, even though Inter Miami's squad is valued at almost $240 million less than PSG, there are still some players who are worth a lot of money like Lionel Messi, who is currently valued at $70 million according to Transfermarkt. So with all that being said, here are some head-to-head stats between these two teams. Now, if you haven't realized it yet, these two teams have never played each other in any official competition before. However, last week they did play each other in a friendly match and the result was a 2-2 draw. But this is a competitive game and we can expect a much higher intensity and different tactics from both sides. Alright, so now let's take a look at some of the latest transfer news involving these two teams. Let's start with Paris Saint-Germain. The first player we'll talk about is Marco Verratti. The Italian midfielder is expected to leave the club when his contract expires in June 2024. He has been offered a new deal to stay at the club, but he has decided to turn it down. His next destination is most likely going to be Inter Miami, as they are reportedly very interested in signing him, and they have already started negotiations with the player's agent. So we could see a reunion between Verratti and his former coach at PSG, Christophe Galtier, who is now the manager of Inter Miami. As for PSG, they are looking for a replacement for Verratti, and they have identified two possible candidates. The first one is the England international Jude Bellingham, who is currently playing for Real Madrid. But let me tell you, signing him is going to be very difficult as Real Madrid is not willing to let him go, and they would demand a huge amount of money for him. The second option for PSG is to sign the Portugal international William Carvalho, who is currently playing for Nottingham Forest. It will be interesting to see who they end up signing or if they manage to convince Jude Bellingham to join them. Now, moving on to Inter Miami, as mentioned earlier, they are interested in signing Marco Verratti, but they are also interested in signing another PSG player, and that is Nordi Mukiel. The French defender is currently valued at $15 million, and he could be available for a reasonable price as he is not getting enough playing time at PSG, so if they manage to sign both Mukiel and Verratti, it will be a great addition to their squad for next season. Alright, so now let's take a look at some of the other players who are on the radar of these clubs. Let's start with PSG. They are looking to add more depth to their squad, and they are interested in signing 3 players. The first one is the Spain international Carlos Soler, who is currently playing for Valencia. The second player is the France international Randal Kolo Muani, who is currently playing for Eintracht Frankfurt. And the third player is the Brazil international Bruno Guimarães, who is currently playing for Newcastle United. Now, out of all of these players, I believe that Bruno Guimarães would be the most expensive one, as Newcastle is not willing to let him go for a cheap price. As for Inter Miami, they are looking to bring in some new talent, and they are interested in signing 4 players. The first one is the Mexico international Hirving Lozano, who is currently playing for Napoli. The second player is the Costa Rica international Joel Campbell, who is currently playing for LAFC. The third player is the American international Paul Arriola, who is currently playing for DC United. And the fourth player is the Colombia international Juan Cuadrado, who is currently a free agent after leaving Juventus. Out of all these players, I think that signing Lozano would be the most expensive one. So now let's take a look at how they line up. This is a 433 formation for Inter Miami with Messi, Martinez, and Kramaski as the 3 attackers. For PSG, it's also a 433 formation with Mbappé, Neymar, and Vitinha as the 3 attackers. Okay, so now let's take a look at some predictions for this match. When it comes to possession, we can expect PSG to have more possession because they are the favorites to win this match. But Inter Miami is going to try and counterattack as fast as they can. In terms of goals, we could see a high-scoring match because both teams have a lot of attacking talent, but I think that the team that wants it more is going to be the one that comes out on top. Now, when it comes to the winner of this match, most people are expecting PSG to win because they have more individual talent and they are playing at home. But don't count out Inter Miami just yet because they have shown that they can compete with the best teams in the world. Alright guys, so that's it for today's video. Let me know what you think about this matchup and who you think is going to win. Also, if there's any other team you want us to do a video about, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll make sure to add it to our list. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.